Hey y'all, I am Daniel Aaron, your guide to vibrant living, and it's not a pleasant topic, this one, and the reason I'm sharing about it right now is because, well, several people around me, not in my immediate circle, though a little bit out of my immediate circle, have either killed themselves or attempted it in the last few days, so. And I know that's not unusual to this moment. It's happening all the time. And it's an incredible tragedy from the human perspective. Of course, from the spiritual perspective, it's in divine order in some way. And let's be human about it right now. I have a particular connection to this topic, and that is because of my own sister having killed herself. And a couple things I want to share about it. One, you probably know this story already. There's a story of a man who was traveling in England, and he had 4 or 5 children with him, small children, and they got on the train, and it was a crowded train, and they were going, and as they were going, the children were just kind of running amok. And for some of us who have guidelines about how children are to be cared for and how they impact others, that could be, upsetting. And they were really disturbing a lot of people. And so finally somebody got uncomfortable and they came over to the guy and they said, "Sir, pardon me, but your children are really disturbing people and they seem to be a bit out of control." And the man kind of staggered a little bit and looked over and said, "Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. We just came from their mother's funeral, and haven't really been paying attention." And part of what I get from that story is we just never know. And I won't tell the whole story of what happened for my sister and how she died. And it is an important story for me and something that I use as part of my teaching sometime to help understand how events happen, and then there are our beliefs or the stories we tell about those events and how those can get intertwined and really shape our perception of reality and our whole experience of our lives. And certainly for me, the event and the story I told and my beliefs around it got mingled in a way that was really destructive and took a long time for me to sort out. One of the pieces, though, is when I was 16, about 16, there were some very disturbing events that happened with my sister. And they were scary to me, and they involved her being locked up in a mental health institute, a psych ward, and then big fights and the police and drugs, and then she was gone again. And after that time, my mother, and I lived alone with my mother at that time, my mother would say to me, "Danny," that was my name then, she would say, "Danny, just write to your sister." And it's horrifying to me in one way to say this now. What my experience of it was, though, at the time was I didn't really write to her, maybe a couple times, but one is I didn't know what to say. I was uncomfortable. Two is my whole family had been so weird and dysfunctional, and I was at this point in adolescence where I just so wanted to fit in. For those of you that know me, fat chance, no way that was ever going to happen, and still doesn't. But that's what I wanted more than anything at that point, was just, could I fit in? Could things be okay? Could I have some sense of normalcy? And my crazy drug addicted sister and the psychosis and the paranoia and the fights, all of that was just like, I just wanted any way I could to get away from that. And so for me to actually write to her was, I don't know, I just didn't do it. Somehow I couldn't do it. Now, 2 important things about that. One, it took me years to forgive myself for that, for the guilt that I felt. And for those of you that have been around suicide in some way, you know that one of the great tendencies for anyone around someone who's killed themselves is to feel guilty, to say what if, to think if I had done this, if I had done that, or I should have done that, and there's got to be a way I could prevent it. So I want to say to you really clearly, from my own experience and from working with many other people, stop. Like literally just stop that train of thought. 1, because it's done. 2, because we can never know. It's equally possible that the thing we would have done would have made no difference, or in fact would have made things worse. Right? One thing we know for sure is what's done is done. And the point now is, how can we help ourselves and help that person? And a helpful question with that is, what would they want for me now? What would they want me to be doing or thinking now? Because if we feel guilty, if we feel hurt, if we feel sad, then for sure that's a sign that there was love between us and that person. Now on the flip side, there's a great lesson there that I took, and really is a driver, a part of why I do the work that I do now, and why I've devoted myself for the last 25 years to helping, to teaching, to coaching, to making a difference in the world. And that is because you never know what will make a difference for somebody. And I know this is paradoxical. You can roll with that though, right? Life is paradoxical. So if right now, today, we extend a little more kindness, a little more love, a little more patience, if we have the capacity to withhold our impatience or our frustration or our anger or our judgment, and if we have the capacity to rise up, to transmute it, to alchemize our own pains or those negative states, and simply practice, extend kindness, love, generosity toward others, well, we never know how far that will go and what difference that will make. There are many, many stories of the little thing that happened right when someone was on the edge of hurting themselves, killing themselves. So again, this is key. If something has already happened, if somebody has killed themselves, then the thing to do now is devote ourselves to the healing that we need and to helping others, right? So that we make the world a better place, so that we make it less painful, so that we can help people that really need to get the help they need. Not just medications. And I'm not dissing medications, they can have their use. The real education that's essential for everyone is emotional education. The art of vibrant living is largely about how we feel, how we work with our emotions, the stories we tell. All right. Well, that's an uplifting talk, Daniel. Thanks. Well, yeah. I shared this in hopes that it's helpful to those of you that are somehow connected to this, to the realm of suicide. Because it's I'm in the City of Angels here, and I look around at how many homeless people, and I think that's just such a stark symbol, in our face symbol of how on the human level we haven't got it yet. We're living in primitive ways, that we have war on the planet. We are a primitive culture, that we have people in our human family that are killing themselves. That's another symbol that we're not yet getting it. And we can, y'all, we can. And you, thank you for listening, thank you for being here, because if you're with me, if you're interested in this, that means you're already doing something about it. Healing yourself, being kind to others, that's powerful. Right? You're doing it, and I'm grateful. And if you're interested in connecting with me more, going deeper with some of this kind of education, working one-on-one or in our sangha, I'll put some information below. All right, y'all. Thank you. I love you. See you soon.